Hello! Today's video is about Athanor 1, which was released around 2014, and Athanor 2, which was released, I think, last year. That one is the Oric original, and this one is the Atari ST version, because this game has never been released on the Oric. Athanor comes with a fancy box, which is not very practical to put in your collection, and on a 3-inch floppy. And if you read the manual, welcome adventurer, before trying to accomplish the task I will submit to you, take the time to read these few pages. With this humble game, I offer you to leave sensations that illustrate predecessors like, in my opinion, the Manoir du Docteur Genius or Le Mystère de Quiquecanquois aroused. Maybe thank for it forever. These two games he's talking about are that one. Both are from Loriciels, and they are really early Oric software. And as you can see, they're on tape, not on floppy. And there are only a few of the many games of this type on the Oric. We have the follow-up, Le Retour du Docteur Genius, Le Rendez-vous de la Terreur from Air Informatique. But we also have The Hobbit from Melbourne House, which are all text adventure with a graphic representing the scene. And that one brings something else, which is physical clues, which is something that the games from Cobra Soft, like Meurtre à grande vitesse or Murder in Sark, had, which were a lot of small things like telegraphs, letters, bits of photos that have been spread apart that you had to use to finish the game. And so Athanor is trying to do that. So, as you can see here, it's from Safar Games, and Safar Games is basically Eric Safar, which made a lot of games at Cryo, a French company that doesn't exist anymore, like Atlantis, Versailles, Mega Race. He worked on all these games. And so Athanor and Athanor 2 is his attempt of making his own video game legacy with his own story, but he brought on board some friends and former colleagues like Angel Bautista, who made some of the graphics. And his idea is that he's going through the evolution of hardware at the time. So Athanor 1 is vector style, basic style program. Athanor 2 is like the Atari Amiga evolution, where you get bitmap graphics and point and click. And Athanor 3, I don't know, it may or may not happen, but technically will be the next step. And the reason why Athanor 2 was not released on the Oric is because the Oric was supposedly not powerful enough. So if the Amstrad is powerful enough, it's an 8-bit computer after all, to run Athanor 2, why not the Oric? And so Dominique Pessin, actually made a port of Athanor 2 Amstrad to the Oric. So you can see that later, and we can compare the Atari ST and the Oric version. Regarding the development of Athanor, he decided to do something quite unusual, which is instead of using emulators, modern hardware like SD card emulator, he decided to do all the development natively, which means on the Oric he made the version on Oric Atmos with a microdisk. Apparently, based on his blog, he had many problems of floppies failing and needed to get a new microdisk, etc. Then he did the same thing for Athanor 2, where he made the Atari ST version on using GFA Basic directly on the real machine. And unfortunately, GFA Basic does not run very well on the Amiga, so the Amiga version has been entirely rewritten by Fra. Which me as a programmer, I think is just a waste of time. I can agree with the concept, but when you're going to have other people help you, it just makes the development slow and painful for no reason. If you are doing it alone, sure, go for it. Have pain, have fun. But if there are other people, yeah, that's a bit painful. So Athanor 1, all the graphics have been done on a Thomson TO8 using the light pen, and he made a conversion tool to convert these graphics to all the other platforms. So Athanor 1, as far as I know, has been released on the Oric. I think it was the first version. On the Amstrad CPC, there is a Commodore 64 version. And they were planned for an MSX and Apple II versions on the IBM PC, but I'm not sure if they were released. It's very hard to find the list of release. They are not on Moby Games, so it's very hard to find. Athanor 1 Oric is on Moby Game because I actually added it. And if you look at the copyright on the boxes, Athanor 1 is copyright 2014. Athanor 2 is copyright 2017, but I think the game was just released last year, or yeah. So it's very, very difficult to know when what, and the development was kind of staggered. He started working on Athanor 2 around 2015, at least the graph and the design, whereas Athanor 1 was still not finished on some platform. So very complicated, and yeah. I guess time to see what the game looked like. So let's see what we have. So Athanor 1, as I said, is this kind of LP package. And here inside we have the physical clues. Which contain a map of the location, the abbey, and a bunch of small things, like some hints, which may or may not be very clear. Here some, not sure if it's visible, but it's supposed to be some snake skin with a code here, and a small envelope with some statue of someone with snakes and some symbols as well. So the manual, so with the intro I already gave you. So Athanor takes place in the south of Italy in the 12th century. You are playing as a Franciscan monk sent by his holy order to make an inquiry in an abbey where suspect events have aroused many fears. You will lead this inquiry in order to discover the mysteries lying within this abbey. Let your conscience be your guide, and you may discover greater secrets that you could have thought of. So you have some basic explanation about the syntactic analyzer. So the list of clues, and game development. Athanor was developed on all machines without any emulator or Lotharix style interface. First version was on Oric Atmos. So, as I said earlier. The sequel is already in development process because the adventure of Athanor will spread on 3 opuses. We'll meet again soon. On here you have the list of credits with Eric Safar as creator, graphisme Sophie Lecomte, musique Hervé Monchâtre, illustration Angel Bautista, box by Gabriel Gattini, etc. And so, Athanor 2, which has a much better box. The problem of that box is that it's so slim you can't have it with the rest of your Oric game, and it just falls on the side. At least when you have the two side by side, now you can find it. So, much better. Still non-standard box, which is kind of annoying. So, here we have 2 floppies. The Amiga version, I believe, has 3 floppies. You get some clues, like meet up with a birdman from the west of the shipwreck and pray to my god at the northwest of the cliff. A key to the paradise with a code number, and a small metal key. I have no idea what it's for. And here we have some... So, we have 2 clay symbols. A small glass jar with some sand, and an octopus, actually made of metal. And these things are related to what happened in the game. So, time to play the game, but I'm not going to play it on the floppy for practical reason, I'm going to use the Cumulus device. And I'm also not using a CRT screen because I'm recording, I'm capturing with a PC. So, Athanor, copyright 2014, Safar Games. So, as far as I know, this is the only music in the game. There is some sound later, but it's only thing like sound when you do an action which succeeds. And this is the place where we are going, the abbey. So, here with the entrance, the cemetery, various cells, the courtyard in the center. Press a key. So this is a French version because as far as I know there is no official English version. But some member of the Club Oric, Dominique, made a non-official English version. So what it says is arrived at the bottom of a path going toward the abbey, visible far away. Directions, no. What are you doing? So it's a classic 4-direction games. And as you can see, it's all vectorial, it's being drawn, and then there is a fill routine. So, just to make it easier, I'm going to switch to the English version. So I took a look at the code. It's probably possible to do a single version that has French and English. And at Athanor's Awakening, unofficial 2022 release made by Dom, Oric fan for the Oric fans. And the rest is basically the same thing without the extra intro, but now it's in English. So during the please wait, the game is actually reading a lot of data, creating tables of information about the various locations. All the game logic is in BASIC. The graphics are all loaded separately from disk, and the fill routine is in assembler. But could be faster. So you have reached the end of a track leading to the abbey, which can be seen far away. Exit north. What to do? North. So far it's very similar to these other Oric games. Except all these are on tape, and that one is on disk. The reason it's on disk is that these handmade style graphics takes a lot of more room to store than just a room made of lines, which I guess is why it will not fit on a tape. But other than that, the game is totally doable on a tape. You walk along a path toward the abbey, some thorny bushes lie near the edge of an embankment. So that's one of the main differences also with Athanor, is that the descriptions, you have to understand what description mean at the intuitive level. Most of these games are going to tell you, you are there, you see a can of beans and a torch. Here it never tells you that. It just gives some indication that. So you need to examine bushes. And it takes some time to answer. I wish it was a bit faster. There are blackberry bushes, there are even some berries remaining. Take berries. That was the one sound effect. North. And that's where you realize that the reason for the fill on, fill off command is because this is very slow and you go multiple times on this place. So fill off. Going to be more ugly, but here you are at the foot of the abbey, and that's all information you have. You have to notice that on the picture there is a bell. If you don't know, the description is not going to tell you, and you can't do anything until you ring the bell. But before we do that, I'm going east. An icy wind blasts across the moor, and the gate in the wall seems almost fossilized. Examine gate. A well-forged iron gate, wherever time has done its work. Open gate. It seems to be locked from the inside. Okay, fair enough. East. The foggy moor stretches as far as the eye can see. Otherwise, the only thing of note are mossy rocks on walls, and there is also a strong smell. So, the game is telling you something. There is a strong smell. And you see there are walls, there is moss. Examine wall, maybe. You can see a distinctively shaped arrow slit above you, but it is out of your reach. What about examine ground? Many carcasses of dead birds lie here, and various bones are scattered around. Take bones. So basically you had to figure out that the smell came from something which was on the ground. That's one of the things in this game, is that there are many places where there's nothing obvious, and you basically end up having to do examine wall, examine ground in every single room. And if you want to have the inventory, you have to type invent. So you can see your bag contains berries, bone. If you type E or inventory, nothing works. So let's continue east. From where you stand, the building seems quite imposing. Let's continue. You can't, so you can do north and south. But I just did east, and I can't go west. So what if I go south? And I am back at the entrance of the abbey. So basically, here you have a map, but the directions makes no sense compared to traditional games. Most of these Oric games will have north, south, east, west, and when you go to north, you expect to be able to go back to south, except if there is something like a gate close behind you. Here in this game, most of the time, you can't come back by the opposite direction, which makes the navigation without drawing your own map with direction impossible. So, let's ring bell. a monk appears. He looks oddly stoical. Exit southwest is. Talk to monk. Welcome, brother. And that's the second thing, which, as far as the design goes, is very confusing, if you don't know it, is that, well, talk to monk, because he has many things to say. And in most of this game, you have to do that again and again, else you don't get all the information. Because here you could just going wandering around and wondering what the heck to do. Please follow me, the abbot is waiting for you, I will lead you to your cell. And then follow monk. The brother asks you to wait here until the abbot arrived and you were told not to leave your cell under any circumstances. And then you can go south, you can examine the cell. So yeah, let's go south. To the west is your cell. Yes, what I was saying just before. I would have expected the map to be rematched, so this would be north to go to my cell. The courtyard lies to the north. Exit south, west, east. Why can't I go to the north? Is it closed or something? Nothing happened. East, maybe? A sparsely furnished monastic cell, a monk is standing nearby. Talk to monk. Hello, brother. I am Brother Filippo. You should not be here, and I shouldn't be talking to you. Strange things are happening in this abbey. Don't stay here. Talk to monk. In case he has something else to say. Don't say I didn't warn you. Examine floor. Nothing happens. I guess south. And south. The corridor, there is a cell to the east. The cell is full of books. There's also a comfortable straw mattress. Examine bed. The mattress seems to have been moved frequently. Someone has hidden a key under it. A strange key, as something seems to be missing from it. Take key. Examine table. A book is lying open on the table. There is a small note in it. Have you ever danced with the devil in the moonlight? So I'm not going to do the entire game. I guess you got a rough idea. So my take on this game is that from a design point of view, there are things which are absolutely non-obvious, which makes the difficulty of the game artificially higher than it could be. I really like the music, I really like the graphics style, same thing for Athanor 2. But I think going for a more straightforward map design and automate things like talking, like maybe instead of not asking to talk to monk, like having space to have more information, or talk more, would really make the game much more enjoyable. Basically, I finished it, but I had to use a walkthrough. Without the actual solution to the game, there are many things I would have had no idea. And even having all the physical clues, having all the secret codes on the solution, there are still some of the things I had to enter, which I don't know where they figured it out. And before using the solution, I tried the game, I tried to play it normally. So yeah, there you go. That's a bit frustrating. But other than that, it's nice to have original games. So now let's take a look at Athanor 2. I will briefly show the Atari ST version, and then we will show again the Oric version so we can have a comparison. Okay, time to check Athanor 2 on the Atari ST. And something I just noticed is that the box says Safar Game 2017, but the floppy says 2020. So, let's see. So, legend 89.pg. Here we have the credits. And I believe the 89 was reference to the version number 8.9.11. So the game does not support the keyboard input here, so you have to use the mouse to do up and down. So let's go for English. Loading Athanor 2. The Amiga version is saying Safar Games presents. So the game supports installation on a hard drive, which is probably a good thing. Mouse interface. Your interface has 6 icons: take, put, examine, look, use, talk, save game, load game. So this is the interface. As you can see, it's very different from Athanor 1. I'm going to get the music a bit down. Your boat is moored at the edge of the dock. In the north there is an entrance to the city. And here you can see we can go in 2 directions, but not these 2. And here we have various actions. So I'm not sure if I can do that. Your ship is firmly moored to the dock. So, right click allows you to access the inventory. These are the 6 icons, and to go on the boat, you actually have to interact with the boat. So in terms of directions, Athanor 2 suffers from the same problem as Athanor 1. Where the logic between north, south, east, west is not always coherent. But it's not that bad in Athanor 2, except on the very first picture, where the boat is in front of you, but if you go north, you go in the city. You are at the back of your boat. The Brotherhood has put at your disposal to carry out your mission. So you can go here on the side. The view is magnificent from the front deck. There is gull flying in the air. So let's examine the gulls. Your imitation seems convincing. An especially curious gull approaches and gratifies you with its magnificent dipping wet droppings which crashes onto the deck. Beside, it drops the worm that it was holding in its beak, which we can see here. So, you can get that, the fat worm. I'm not sure if we can get this disgusting thing. Are you really going to pick up these dripping bird droppings? No, I guess not. Let's go back. So as you can see, I have to go south to go back from east. And totally not intuitively, you have to interact with the rope here to choose if you want to stay on board or navigate somewhere else. So, I'm not a designer, I'm a programmer, but what I would have done is to actually have a normal plank to go out of the boat with normal north-east, east-west directions. And here I will have added a new scene where you see the navigation wheel and clicking on it will allow you to choose where to go. So I want to go back to the city of Knossos. I also believe the game is lying. Atari STe with 1 MB of memory. If you have more, the extra memory will be used by the game as a buffer to limit this access. With 4 MB, the game will load each view only one time in the game. Well, as far as I can see, the boat has been reloaded, so there may be something weird there. So in the north, there is an entrance to the city, so let's go north. You are at the west entrance of the village. Going south takes you back to the dock. So here you can take items as well. So basically you have to look at things to figure out what is interactable. So the graphics were all done as actual paintings. And then they were scanned and the color reduced by Fra, which made 32 colors version for the Amiga, 16 colors version for the Atari ST. You journey through the village, a seemingly playful dog watches you and wags his tail. So, not sure if we can... You're obviously waiting to run after something. You can take the pebbles. So I tell you in the pocket, but it's not in the pocket, it's actually in your hand, so you have to put it there. And this thing is super important. If you don't have it, there is one place in the game when you will going to die. So I'm not sure if I can talk to the dog. No. You move forward along the square, time seems frozen in these old stones. You climb the few steps that separate you from the harbor. It's impossible to go further, a street peddler is standing there. Hello, street peddler. Hello stranger, my name is Exxos, I sell spices. So Exxos is a reference to Cryo Exxos company, I believe. Yes, so there are something else to do, which I have not done, I guess. But I'm already lost, I don't have the map here. Maybe... west. You're in the inn, the surrounding is relaxed. All you can hear is heavy snoring. I'm Lila, on you stranger, what are you looking for here? She looks at you suspiciously. You know Altos? What proof do I have of your good faith? Are you ready to take risk to save Altos? And then it cycles, which means you have to provide some item, which is not none of this, but... Okay, let's give that to her. She looks at you startled. So you have to know exactly which to give her, and it's absolutely not obvious based on the game. So, that's the Atari ST version. The colors are wrong, I don't know why. Probably something with video capture. It's supposed to be more contrasted here. But basically the art is nice, the music is nice, but it would be nice if it was possible to pause it. Because yes, it just starts and then you have to wait and you can't control the volume. So now you have an idea, I'm going to show you the Oric version of Athanor. And now let's see Dom's non-official version of Athanor 2 for the Oric. So Dom is used to do port of the game. He did ports of the missing Oric versions of some of the Cobra software games. Like Murder on the Atlantic, Murders in Sark. He's been working for a while on Murders in Venice. So Athanor 2, The Legend of the Birdman, an official release for the Oric fan. And he came up with this version a few weeks, maybe a few months ago now. And nobody had any idea he had worked on it. And I believe the art, graphics and audio come from the Amstrad version, but I'm not 100% sure. But he did a pretty impressive job. The Legend of the Birdman. You sail toward the city of Knossos in search of Altos. So, this Oric version follows pretty much exactly the Atari version. I finished both the Atari and the Oric version, and I managed to finish the Oric version by following the long play of the ST version. Your boat is moored at the edge of the dock. In the north, there is an entrance to the city. So obviously the Oric does not have a mouse. So the solution here is that the directions are using the arrows, and for the rest you type commands. So if I go to the north, you are at the west entrance of the village. Going south takes you back to the dock. So, I mean, round. A vase planted with a few flowers. Take flowers. Okay. North. I don't understand this verb. Oh yeah, I have to press the arrow. A few little houses here, and there is one of which seems to be a shop. Let's continue north. Your journey through the village, a seemingly playful dog watches you and wags his tail. Examine ground. Some stones. Take stones. Okay. East. You move forward along the square, time seems frozen in these old stones. Examine tree. A beautiful olive tree, astonishingly it still seems to be very leafy. Take leaf. Check leaves. Okay. So that the main difference here is that that one has a syntax interpreter, so you can make typos. With a mouse click and drop, it's much easier to get things right. That being said, it's much faster to answer than Athanor 1, so that's quite nice. North. You claim the few steps that separate from the harbor. It's impossible to go further, a street peddler is standing here. So, talk peddler. Hello stranger, my name is Exxos, I sell spices. Go back south. Go back left. You're in the inn, the surrounding is relaxed, all you can hear is heavy snoring. Yeah, so if you write talk woman, is it a joke? Talk to girl. So that's the problem, you have to know the vocabulary. I'm Lila, on you stranger, what are you looking for here? It's very similar to the original game. And I think the graphics are very nice. All sorts of answers are stocked here, and the wine merchant look at you with interest. All that shows is that, yes, the Oric was definitely able to do the sequel of the game. So, which means we do have Oric version of both Athanor 1 and 2. So my plan is to make some actual physical floppies and with proper labels and get Athanor 1 and 2 in my shelves in Oric version. So the bottom line is, if there is an Athanor 3, I think Eric should spend some time fix the stuff which is confusing, like the direction, and streamline a bit more. The story is interesting, but these problems of direction is just artificial difficulty. Things don't react the way you expect it. And yeah, so that's it. I hope that was interesting.